I've made it known that for the better part of the last 6 years or so, I have had no qualms in sticking my neck out for people like Jim Cummings, Rick Mignogna, Vin Diesel, Johnny Depp, etc. Mostly individuals who have been accused, falsely, I might want to point out, of certain crimes: pedophilia, rape, domestic abuse, underage abuse, that sort of shit. I've made no qualms about it. Simultaneously, I have made no qualms at calling out. I've had no qualms at calling out their accusers and throwing their crap back in their face by spitting the truth. However, if there is one individual who's accused of this and deserves what he's getting, and one I will never stick my neck out for, and for those wondering, it's not Sabat. And even though I will never stick my neck out for what he's done, let's just say the person I'm referring this to makes Christopher Robin Sabat look like a saint in comparison. I'm, of course, referring to one Vincent Kennedy McMahon, a man I have held an erroneous grudge for and not many people would know this, since 1997. At the time, I wasn't aware, as a 10-year-old, 9 going on 10-year-old kid, I wasn't aware of the fact that he was the owner of the WWE until some later episodes near the end of that year, specifically after the Montreal Screwjob. But it wasn't until the ruthless aggression, the tail end of the Attitude era, where some of his worst traits started to rear their ugly heads. Specifically, his promiscuity. And again, this was coming from the eyes of someone who didn't know what was going on, and at the time thought wrestling was partially real and partially fake. Couldn't believe that that he was cheating on his wife. But when you own a massive multimedia conglomerate, you can expect it. But little did I realize that characters on camera can bleed off and to their lives off camera, or vice versa. Now, for those who don't remember, Vince was recently ousted as part of the WWE and TKO following one more sex assault and sex trafficking allegation. During the Royal Rumble prediction episode of the MegaMets Podcast, I went off the handle saying, "Thank the good Lord that the Dr. Blackguard of professional wrestling is finally gone, and hopefully for good with this allegation." Now, for those wondering, who is Dr. Blackguard? Is he an anime character? Is he a film character? Is he a TV show character? Is he a video game character? Is he a cartoon character? Believe it or not, no. He's a radio drama character, specifically from an evangelical Christian series that's been going on the radio wave since 1987, and one I listened to a lot of as a kid, and I've referenced it a couple of times, Adventures in Odyssey. Basically, on the surface, he comes off as a philanthropic development firm holder. In truth, he's a criminal mastermind with interest in biological terrorism. His main goal through the episodes he did pop up, though his expectancy to appear in the series is about on par with that of Vicious from Cowboy Bebop, as his arc, as his storyline basically was more or less spread out from 300 for around 425 episodes with only 18 appearances over that stretch. Anyway, what was his goal? Getting some dirt underneath the main hangout spot in town, Wits End Ice Cream Shop and Discovery Emporium. And you're thinking, what? Dirt? That's all he wanted? Well, here's the thing. There was a compound underneath in the tunnels underneath the building that that could be used as a catalyst and adaptive agent to a virus. A virus that's on its own, while deadly, is useless unless it gets directly into the bloodstream. The virus was known as Ruku. You find this out in later albums, specifically albums 22, Changing Times, and a two-parter called A Name Not a Number, and mostly the entirety of album 25, entitled Darkness Before Dawn. But you don't get the full answer until the finale of the album, The Final Conflict. And he tried various methods to get the land on which Wits End was built upon. When it was originally called the Fillmore Recreation Center, a building that was going to get torn down, he first tried to buy the land for bid on the land and buy it for $3 million. Adam, there's always an exception to the rule, and if Stephanie and Shane are coming out of the woodwork with stories about how despicably debaucherous and deranged their father is, this sounds legit. As far as I'm concerned, this is a case where I will not stick my neck out for someone. One accused of those crimes. Getting back on topic, only to be stopped when, at the last minute, you're an idiot, Adam, you know that? Getting back on topic, only to be stopped in the last minute when Whitbit puts in a bid for $3.5 million to buy the land of the town council of Odyssey. And basically remodel and reformat the building into the establishment known as Wits End. Don't believe him. At 78 and cognitively declining, Vince has no clue of what's real or what's fake anymore. And he'll do anything to get back in. It's been like this ever since. He'll do anything to beat the legal system like Blackguard. Now, will you shut up and let me get back on topic? Anyway, so when that failed, he decided to try in album 5, Daring Deeds and Sinister Schemes. And for wondering where the context of what I just mentioned happened, it's in album 1 in a flashback episode entitled Recollections, which divulges the origin of Wits End. Anyway, he decides to get a business license to run an amusement arcade called Blackguard's Castle. At the time, Whit was going through a bit of a rough patch. His two most trusted employees, Connie Kendall and Eugene Meltzner, had basically broken his trust when Connie accidentally set off a program on the Wits End main computer called Applesauce because she got overly curious on what it did when Whit basically told Eugene never to activate it. Adam, quit trying to stick your neck out for Vince before I decide to block you, okay? But with both Connie and Eugene in the room at the computer room at the same time, Whit had no choice but to fire both of them. He would end up rehiring Eugene an episode later in Eugene's Dilemma, I won't get into the context of that. It was more like you've learned your lesson, Eugene. You understood what you did wrong. You're repentant of what you did, so I'll let you come back. Connie, on the other hand, would take a little longer to come back, and in the two-part of the Nemesis, Blackguard tries to lure her to working for him. But Connie ultimately says no once she finds out he's interested in the applesauce program. So, not able to turn Connie against Wit, so he can. Blackguard's next option to get the town council to give him his business license is to remove Wit and Tom Riley, Wit's best friend, from the town council meeting, from the town council vote. Connie is more or less tricked into luring Wit away by meeting him in private to apologize for what happened, while Tom is beaten up by Blackguard's flunky, Richard Maxwell, who locks him in his barn and sets it on fire. Tom nearly dies had it not been for Wit's intervention. Adam, fuck you if you're going to defend Vince. I warned you. I would block you if you kept sticking your neck out for this sick bastard. So now, suffer the consequences. Piece of shit, idiot. Getting back on topic. Ultimately, because of this, Blackguard gets his business license. And the two, though in truth, it's a way to indirectly get his hands on the mineral. Using a modem that Maxwell purchases, they hack into Wit's End's computer, setting off the program. Connie was in the building at the time while Wit and Eugene were inspecting Blackguard's castle, and they found it as an antithesis to Wit's End. Wanting to figure out what happened, Wit decides to use his newest invention, the Imagination Station, only for the power to get drained remotely. When another character, Lucy Cunningham Schultz, overhears Blackguard's scheme with the program, she rushes to Wit's End to try to warn him. Only when the power surge program is put back up. Adam, if it's fucking legit, they're not gonna let him back. So why don't you shut the fuck up? Raphael, can you block this bastard? Thank you. Barry, I'll just report this motherfucker. Getting back on topic. As I was saying before I kept getting really interrupted, Lucy gets caught in the Imagination Station power surge, which leaves both Wit and by proxy Richard Maxwell, who didn't want any innocent people caught in the crossfire, guilty. So Blackguard's plan fails when Richard gives him a bad password that causes his whole arcade to self-destruct. But Blackguard does escape, leaving Richard to die, only for Wit and Eugene to rescue him. This also leads Wit to erasing the applesauce program. Then there was an incident in Chicago where he tried having Connie held for ransom to get a government laptop that Wit accidentally got his hands on. That backfired when Wit and Richard erased the program, all the data on the computer. They're in album 10 in a two-parter called Waylaid in the Windy City, which leads to them joining the NSA to try to help to quote unquote assist in taking down a terrorist cell called the Red Scorpions out in Switzerland. And this is the proper reintroduction. And I'm telling you, it don't matter. I've wanted Vince out of the company for years because he's just gonna fuck over Cody to get what he fucking wants. He deserves death for that. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, well, maybe not death. He deserves a jail sentence. And as far as I'm concerned, the further away he's kept from the WWE, the better. So, Adam, you can fuck off, stop making dummy accounts, and leave this chat, this fucking view. Okay, you piece of shit? Constantly fucked him over because he can't told Trips to push the goalpost back. That's what. Now why don't you leave me the fuck alone, you little bastard? Okay? And stay the fuck out, you piece of shit. I seriously do not want Vince back. Anyway, this is the reintroduction of Wit's son, Jason. They stop the Red Scorpions, but Blackguard gets injected with an incomplete iteration of the Roku virus, essentially faking his own death. But it does make him extremely sick. Months later in album 25, it all comes to a head with his ultimate plan. Personally, I'd rather see Vince dead in his own home, left to rot. I will never give him the death penalty, but the way he treats other people is enough to get rid of him once and for all. It all comes to a head in Darkness Before Dawn, when Blackguard pulls all of his resources and honesty together to pull a massive crime wave to make people lose trust in their current mayor at the time, Tom Riley. However, with some collaborative efforts from Richard Maxwell, Jason Whitaker, Tom Riley, Eugene Meltzner, a gang that Whitaker created called the Israelites to try to counter everything Blackguard had done, and betrayal from Rodney and Bart Rathbone, it's discovered that Blackguard was behind everything. because he didn't want to run for mayor. He wanted the mineral. You find this out near the end of the penultimate episode, The Last Resort. It all comes to a head in the final conflict when Blackguard goes into the tunnels with a detonator to a bomb he's planned under the building in hand, where he's confronted by Jack Allen, who tries to convince him to come to Jesus and save his soul. Blackguard reveals he's already sold his soul to the devil, and that his illness isn't an act. And you know what finally takes Blackguard down for good? Physically, he sets the bomb off, burying himself under the rubble of the collateral damage caused. But that doesn't kill him. But that only physically kills him. We find out in a later album, several years later, in virtual realities, in a two-part epilogue called Blackguard's Revenge, that during the events of Another Chance, which is the 10th episode of Darkness Before Dawn, that he had uploaded his consciousness into the imagination station. Think of VR simulator mixed with a time machine, by the way. And uploaded a virus with his consciousness attached to it into the device. So if anyone dumb enough to find it could be manipulated to allow them to upload his mind into their body. The bait was a girl named Audrey Shepard. But like I said, she was merely bait. It was Wit's body he wanted all along. Wit, deducing this, tricked Blackguard into uploading his mind into a hologram of Wit that had an antiviral program inside it. And that's what finally took Blackguard down once and for all. Vince McMahon is similar to Blackguard. No matter how many times you try to get rid of him, he comes back. Do I think it would take him suicide bombing his own headquarters to get rid of him for good? Perhaps, but I don't want to go that far. Perhaps, but I don't want to go that far with it. I really don't. But that said, with him gone, maybe we can get the wrestlers who come in that were not crafted by Vince built up properly instead of getting built up for a short time and then getting buried because Vince is a petty and spiteful little piece of shit. I'm really hoping that. Meltzer wrote this. Vince isn't coming back, but we do have to look at the top of TKO, and that's not Triple H or even Nick Khan, but it's Adi Emanuel, who made the decision to keep him in the company after so much had already come out, and those on the board with the investigation never interviewed Janelle Grant. And anyone who remembers Janelle openly stating that the original investigations were just ended up getting swept under the rug. With it being this close to WrestleMania, do you really just sweep these allegations under the rug this time? In my view, you don't. You leave them out in the open. Now, McMahon may say the lawsuit is replete with lies. But again, I've always had a grudge. If a character bleeds into real life, off camera into real life, or vice versa, there's got to be some level of validity to it. Far worse than anything that people like Vic are accused of, and far worse than anything I've ever called Sabbath out on. We all know Vince is someone who will deny or project his own allegations onto someone else. Here were some reactions from the WWE locker room on it. Quote, hold on, let me find that. Now, personally, do I think Cody sharing his thoughts on the lawsuit may affect him? Perhaps. Affect his road to WrestleMania? Perhaps. But here's what he did say. I've been through dark periods in our industry before. If you're in my position, that's a time when, hey, we got 50,000 out here. I want to give them something else from this weekend that isn't a terrible situation and terrible news. We'll be seeing it just like you do. And of course, we all know Trips tried to play damage control for his father in law. Well, I get why they did. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, and I'm not sure if to trust Janelle Grant, but for now, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. Something I will never give Vince. I mean, like I said, we all knew Vince was a notorious player in one way or another. I didn't think it would be like this. And it's that damn sickening. And to anyone who tries to defend him, you people are delusional. You can take this back on me and call me a hypocrite, but there's a difference. When people sweep crimes under the rug that they are guilty of, they're hiding something. When they try to project crimes and have no evidence to back it, they're projecting something. But when someone sweeps crimes of their own making under the rug, exactly, Marcos, he is a lost cause. And at least this time, he's gone for good. I've got nothing else left to say. Comment, like, and sub. Mets 2128 signing out. Sorry if I had to go off the handle because of a dimwit who was leaving comments in defense of Vince. But this is one case where I will not. This is one individual I will never defend. The fact that I've burnt almost 30 minutes doing so and going out of my way to blow him to pieces, metaphorically, of course, for a video that was meant to be a simple context explanation being essentially derailed by a dimwit by a man who's proven to be nothing more than someone who likes to ride Vince's meat, so to speak, is annoying. Comment, smash, and like, and sub. Goodbye, and good night.